Alright, so we have 6v plus 7 equals negative 5. So how do we go about solving this one? What's our first step?
We subtract 7.
So we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. We have 6v equals negative 12. 6 and v are attached, so we need to separate them by dividing. So we get v equals negative 2 for A. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Alright, so let's do another check your for number 1. If you have room on the bottom of example 1, we're going to solve negative 4j minus negative 4, and that whole thing divided by negative 6 equals 12. Alright, so we're dividing by negative 6. We need to get that negative 6 out of the basement. So since we're dividing by negative 6, we multiply, because multiplication is the inverse of division. So now we have negative 4j minus negative 4 equals 12 times negative 6 is negative 72. Alright, so now I have minus, I'm dealing with my parentheses, I have minus and negative. When we subtract a negative, or we distribute a negative subtraction to negative, what happens to the two negatives? They become, when we have two negatives, they become what? Positive. So we have negative 4j plus 4, and I'm just dealing with the negatives there. You can either say I'm subtracting a negative 4, or you can distribute, and when you take a negative times a negative, it is positive. Alright, so now I have negative 4j plus 4 equals negative 72. So now what's next?
Subtract 4.
Alright, so now what do I have to do? I have negative 4j equals negative 76. I need, get j by itself, so divide both sides by negative 4. Good, because we're dividing a negative by a negative. And so dividing a negative by a negative is a positive. And so j equals 19.
Excuse me, can I have your attention, please?
Alright, so now we need to check. So to check this, it looks like it's going to be C, right? But we need to check it. So we're going to plug that 19 back into J. So on your calculators, let's check if negative 4 times 19 minus a negative 4 divided by negative 6, if that equals 12. Looking at example 2, now we're in the second tab. The title for this one is Write and Solve a Multi-Step Equation. So write, that was from 2.1, where we are going to work with a word problem. So we need to create our equation from that. And then we will solve our multi-step equation. Alright, so let's look at this word problem. Susan had a $10 coupon for the purchase of any item. She bought a coat that was half its original price. After using the coupon, Susan paid $125 for the coat plus taxes. What was the original price of the coat? Write an equation for the problem, then solve the equation. Alright, so what's the important information?
$10.
$10 coupon, half the original price.
No.
I know it was $2.60 before all that happened.
Okay, so let's set up our word problem first. A $10 coupon. What do you do with a coupon? What's a coupon do?
It's $10 off.
It takes dollars off. So how would we write that in an algebra equation? Minus 10. It's original price. So original price, do we know what that is?
No.
So what are we gonna let be that price?
X.
N, X, any letter.
A, B, C.
I'll do B. 'Cause I'm not picking. Alright, so half is original price. So how do we represent that? How do we find out what half of it was?
Divide
Divide by what?
2.
50. Wait,
Two.
5.
Okay, so we can multiply by 0.5 or divide by 2.
Divide by 2 is way easier.
Alright, so we have our original price, which is B, and we're dividing by 2 because it's half off, and then we're subtracting 10. And we know that after all of that, what did it cost? What did Susan pay for her coat?
125.
Alright, so what's our first step? Before we do that, if I cover that up, what's hanging out over there? Negative 10. We're going to add 10 to both sides. Alright, so the coat was how much originally? Alright, so let's plug it in and see if it works. If the coat was originally $270 and it was on sale for 50% off, for half off, what's 270 divided by 2? 135, and then she had a coupon for $10 off, so that makes the coat how much?
125.
125. So does our problem work out?
Yes.
Questions on that one?
Write it down.
You don't have to write the word problem down, but you should have work written down. All right, so now now you try to check your progress. So 3/4 of the difference of a number and 7 is negative 15. What is the number?
I don't have room.
You can move it on back. Or just write it on the front. All right, so what do we know about this? 3/4. How are we going to write that? What number is that? 3/4. 3/4 of what? So the difference between a number and 7. So how do you write that? Is, what's that mean?
Plus.
Is
What equals?
equals. Nope, because it's multiplying 3/4 of whatever that is.
And we want to get rid of the 7.
And it's negative 15. How do I write that? Alright, so 3/4 of means multiplying, of the difference of a number and 7. So I am multiplying, I have a parenthesis, so we have a couple options on how we can get rid of that 3/4. What do you want to do?
Add 7.
We have to get rid of the parentheses first. Alright. So we can distribute. And then we'll get rid of the parentheses. So we have 3/4 x minus, what's 3/4 times negative 7? Okay, can you convert it to a fraction?
Yeah, the 21/4.
All right, so now what do we need to do?
Plus
To cover up the x, what has to move?
add 21 of course, this side.
All right, what's negative 15 plus 21 over 4? And I want the answer as a fraction. What's negative 15 plus 21 over 4? But I want the answer as a fraction.
When a fraction like
39
that,
fourths.
in division,
Just in those two.
Negative 39 fourths.
Negative 39 fourths. Check that. Oh wait, no, that's right. Because this is negative and that's positive. So that's good. All right, so now I have this 3/4 here. How do I get rid of a fraction? What did we do yesterday?
Times it by
The
4/3.
multiply by the reciprocal. So if I multiply this side by the reciprocal, which makes my fraction go away.
And that's
All right, so I need to reduce my fractions. What happens to my 4s? I'm multiplying and dividing by 4.
they get crossed out.
And cross out. So now I'm left with negative 39 divided by 3, which is
13.
negative 13. All right, so questions on that one? All right, so consecutive integers, and we talked about this at the beginning of the period. Consecutive integers are ones that are back to back. So consecutive integers are 1, 2, 3, 4. So they have it as in symbols as a number, and then that number plus 1, that number plus 2, which would be consecutive integers. And then even integer, what's special about an even integer? It's divisible by 2, right? So if n is an even integer, then 2 more would be an even integer, and 2 more would be even. An odd integer, if we say that n is odd, then n plus 2 is still an odd integer, right? Because 1 and 3 are 2 apart. All right, so questions there? All right, so write in the equation for the problem below, then solve the equation and answer the problem. So find 3 consecutive odd integers whose sum is 57.
This is what troubled me on the worksheet.
All right, so if we have an odd integer, how can we represent it? Do we know what the odd integer is? We know what they are, but do we know what these 3 happen to be? No. So could we say that the first odd integer is x? Then what would be the next odd integer? X plus, because we want the next one to 1.
X plus X.
What do we know about odd integers? We have 1, 3, 5. So if this is x, then what's this one? What's 3? X plus from 1. If this is my x, if x equals 1, the next odd integer is 3. So 1 plus how much is 3? 2. So this would be x plus 2. And then if x is 1, how do we get to 5? X plus 1 plus what equals 5? 4. So consecutive odd integers, we'd have x, x plus 2, x plus 4. Let's look at 11, 13, and 15. Those are consecutive odd integers, right? They happen all in a row. So if this is x, if 11 is X,